going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC reality check with something a little different. It's not quite the state of wrestling. This is the Wrestling Roundtable. It's not a preview for WrestleMania, but we're just going to talk about WrestleMania because I feel like being awkward a week out. Lots of people here with me today. Familiar voice, Jake, say hello.
Hello, my good friend. Thank you for having me.
Long lost voice, Señor Guapo has returned.
Hola, mis amigos. Señor Guapo is back again.
And brand new to the channel, Cody, Judgment Day era. I don't know what we're calling you, but you're Cody on
Whatever
my screen right now.
Whatever
Nice.
you like, I'm all of you, so glad to be
Nice.
on
Yeah, we're
first time.
all AI. We're all AI. Gonna start off the bat. I'm sorry if this sounds a little bit different for everybody listening out there right now. My computer is a potato. So I'm on my phone, and Jake is thankfully doing the recording for me on his end of Facebook Messenger. So if this sounds any different, I hope it's not too shit.
You can blame me.
I like it. Oh, yeah, man.
That's right. It's my fault.
All right. Stuff's happening already. I'm not in charge. I'm not in charge of my own party, clearly. A shout out to the one and only legendary OK Fabe as well, who would have liked to be here, but he wouldn't have been able to record for another 4 hours or so, and I do occasionally like to sleep. How we doing, everybody?
Doing great. I can't wait for WrestleMania, even though it's been a weird build. But
It's been a weird build. Jake and I
We're talking about WrestleMania. I thought this was the AEW podcast.
I'm not sitting in an outhouse.
Hey, guys, Jericho just said he wouldn't mind coming back to WWE. All the barbs he's thrown years for now. It just all that mudslinging, and suddenly, just
I think Jericho should come and be the
money.
I think Jericho should come be the co-general manager of NXT. It would be fantastic. But
Jericho should be a high price and a top dollar realistically, but it has something to say. The stink of AEW, when it's on you hard.
Oh, I knew a girl like that once. Anyways, it was in Taiwan. It was weird. But
makes sense.
WrestleMania is upon us. For those of you listening, Jake and I are going to go more traditional state of wrestling route and do an in-depth, grainy preview, predictions, etc. if my computer decides to stop being a potato. That will be coming out sometime next week. Also, shout out to my buddy Jake, who's streaming pretty much every day. Jake, tell them the schedule.
Yeah, we will be live. So we'll be live pretty much after just about every show. We'll be live this upcoming week. Sunday, we'll be having the preview and prediction show with a bunch of special guests. Monday, we'll be live after Raw. Tuesday, after NXT. Wednesday, we'll be live with Into Somewhere Weekly. Thursday, we have the TNA pay-per-view, which will be great. Friday, SmackDown Hall of Fame reviews. Saturday morning, Stand and Deliver, oi, oi, oi. Then we've got Night 1. And then Sunday, we've got a little coffee break in the morning, recap of WrestleMania, NXT, and everything else going on, news and rumors for Nights 2. Then we're going to do the Night 2 review, Raw after Mania, and NXT after Mania. Holy dear God.
NXT in Vegas, baby.
I know.
And as always, I want to send a quick shout out to our friends over at the Wrestling for Life Network because they are doing live watch-alongs for every goddamn thing there is because they're insane. So shout out to those guys as well. Going to start off with the first most generic question, and it's going to go to Guapo because, Guapo, I know you're a little bit more casual than the rest of us these days.
This is true.
What are you looking forward to, and what's your designated piss break right now?
Definitely. This is going to sound terrible because this is my first podcast back with you, Spaz, but absolutely designated piss break is going to be the Naomi versus Jade Cargill match.
For all the wrong reasons, too, right? Like, I like Jade. There's something about her that's just more than just her looks. Like, she's got that presence.
It's just a storyline right now with it. It's just I have no
terrible.
interest. It's
And you'd have to understand that Guapo and I did some movie stuff about a year ago, but the last wrestling podcast we did it was something along the lines of, don't worry, WWE's doing absolutely fine without Sasha and Naomi.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they threw their fit. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go. Sorry, I cut you off. What are you looking forward to most?
Looking forward to, I honestly am looking forward to the Cena and Cody stuff just because I'm in love. I love heel Cena. I've always liked heel Cena, but I mean, he's never been heel per se. But this, I'm looking forward to it because it can only be good, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's getting a free pass because I was there at Chamber in the Sky Dome. They put the Chamber in the dome. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for the turn, and I lost my fucking mind.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the bigness of it on the night of WrestleMania Night 2 is gonna carry it. In
Yeah,
between,
absolutely.
it's been like Cena had to do an appearance, so here it is.
Yeah, it was like, here, John's going to come out only because he's mandated to. As where that Chamber moment felt bigger than Hogan, bigger than, all these other massive moments. The follow-up let it down. Just like, Jade was failed by kind of a bad creative decision in booking this year. I question what they did with Cena because it had this ferocity to it, this viral nature, unlike anything we've seen in a long time. And waiting 2 weeks for a follow up for him to just be like, "You people," rubbed a lot the wrong way, I think.
I will still stick to, and then I'm going to throw it to Cody in a second as well. I still stick to the fact that yes, he's doing the cliche, all you people did this to me, but where it gets a pass from, and I'm not saying it's been incredibly intriguing, where it gets a pass from me is of any wrestler who's ever done the each and every one of you speech, Cena's the one that can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
But
You made that
I
point
don't know.
before. It's a great point to make. Like, out of everybody, Cena's the one. It's just, it goes against a lot of what he's said for years, which is the point of a heel. Because Guapo made a great point. We've had evil Cena, but not heel Cena. He's
Right.
been an evil bastard at times, and they've been like tongue in cheek. That's just John. Da-da. So it's
Here's the thing.
interesting.
Here's another point that I was gonna, and I love the fact that somebody said, that they're looking forward to the Cena Cody thing, because I don't think this thing can ever fully succeed, in the logical sense of Cena for years was seen as a heel by lots of people because he wouldn't turn heel, to the point where the most baby face thing he could do was turn heel.
Yeah, exactly.
So by going heel, he's babyface because everybody loves it and everybody's engaged to that degree.
But we get nothing else though. We don't get a new theme song. We don't get new merchandise. We don't get any of that.
They're trying to.
I think we do get a theme song though for probably Mania. I think
I think they want to keep selling city specific merch.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
They really try. They're not doing anything and trying to tell us that they're doing something by not doing anything. But I really do think that's a lot of hand waving. Where I wanted to go back to, and this is, I promise, guys listening out there, I'm going to do my best to not pick on the Mud Show too much. But there are two parallel situations happening in AEW and WWE right now, right? They're building to Naomi and Jade at WrestleMania, and they're building to Mercedes versus Athena, I think, for All In, which is like their WrestleMania, right? So you've got two really awesome talents that really haven't had a chance to do anything or show what they can fully do just yet because of reasons. And they're both going to be stamped down by people that are shoved down our throats constantly. And those two people that have been shoved down our throats constantly just happen to be the tag team that had a hissy fit and quit because they were the tag team champions at one point.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how do you have two separate companies using Naomi and Sasha to bury people in almost mirror ways?
It is amusing, right? I mean, it in a way, and you look back, especially with her, and you think like, oh yeah, when you said earlier on, like, oh, when she had her fit, but she did it with Bailey. She did it with, like multiple times. Did Sasha try and have this like internal revolution where she would say like, oh, we're not being presented in a way that's worthy of our caliber, that kind of attitude. And
I've heard that a lot with Sasha.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's kind of always seems to be like you hear in AEW constantly, oh, people that have creative control or don't want to book themselves to lose. Mercedes was in a non-title match. If anything, that was the first time she could have lost, and it just
Yep.
proves to her character, like, oh no,
They're so happy about the fact that they're about to like have more episodes than Nitro or whatever, and they're doing all the same things. Like WCW was like the ultimate example of what happens when the inmates run the asylum, and you have like John Moxley falling down on nails because reasons.
Well, there's also to it as well a pecking order in wrestling. You know, you have like the old guard, but eventually the youngers take that position, you know? And for a long time, WCW basically was the old guard that wouldn't get out of the way. You know, Hogan had his
Yeah.
10 years. It was Austin's time, it was others' time, and he had to still be the main focus. And you kind of see that again today with AEW because you look over there and it's like, who's there? You know, who's their big stars? Oh, it's Edge. Oh, Bobby Lashley. Oh, people that have been in the business they're in that upper echelon or
Yeah, it's
close to
crazy. One of their
retirement.
AEW main events for a pay-per-view was Edge versus Dean Ambrose in 2025. Think
This is the thing. Okay,
I
not
nailed
not
it.
not to get repetitive on Jake and I's podcast from a couple weeks ago. I was a huge fan of Dean Ambrose. I was a huge fan of the early days of John Moxley in AEW. I'm always going to be an Edge guy, right? How do you have John Moxley versus Edge and I don't give a shit?
Yeah,
I don't
no
know.
doubt
Yeah,
about it.
I didn't look forward to that either, and I love both of those. Those are two of my favorites, and I just didn't give a shit myself. I think that Death Rider storyline is fucking horrendous.
Oh,
It
they did
is.
plastic
It
bag
has served
stuff.
its course, and it's become stale. That's the whole Death Riders thing right now. It's extremely stale, and
Do you know? Do you know what
they
the? Do you
need
know
to
what the
move
funny
on
thing
from
is?
it.
You know what the funny thing is though. And you know, believe it or not, Guapo, shush. I actually try to not. I actually try to not be an asshole sometimes, and it's like it's all good for those of us that have hopped off the AEW train to be like, look what they're doing and whatever. It does kind of hit me every now and then where you see somebody that's like a genuine like still hanging on, like still wants AEW to be good, and they do a review and you can see that they're like completely deflated because it's like you want your thing to be good. Like WWE fans have been there.
Yeah.
We can relate.
Yeah, and you
Yes.
know, I made a joke in the group chat.
2019 was the thing.
I mean, I made a joke in the group chat before, people saying that, oh, this past week's Raw was terrible, and I was like, I raise you an eye, you know, and
I
talking
raised
about
you an eyeball.
Rey Mysterio, you know, losing it. Think about some of the crap we saw. COVID aside, that was still zany, and
But you
we've
know what
been
kills me
there.
though? You know what kills me though? Here's the thing, and here's where I'll get sort of on a weird tangent here, right? WWE, for whatever you want to say about WWE, when it's shit, it's so spectacularly shit that it's still funny. There's still a perverse level of entertainment there. When AEW's shit, it's not even shit enough to be entertaining.
I have to say you're right, because if you look back, like, what is one of the most I don't want to say requested, that's the wrong word, but like revered to be one of the worst calls in recent WWE times was obviously The Fiend and Seth Rollins. But if you look back at
Oh,
that, the red light, all of the weapons they used, the gigantic mallet, like it was so
yeah.
over the top ridiculous. The DQ finish in a Hell in a Cell, like there was a
Mhm.
reason to revolt and be angry at it. But it was also like, I have to tear this apart because this is insanity. As where if you look at this past, you know, weekend's Dynasty, the Young Bucks come back, knee him in the head, and the crowd's like, why? Like no one was clamoring to see the Young Bucks
And the
return in
last
either
thing anybody
way.
heard on that show was Swerve bitching about Booker T.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not
Totally.
hopping into that because I still need to read more about it. I don't want to totally speak out of turn, but like that's not a like, and I don't even necessarily dislike Swerve. I think he does bring something to the table, but I'm just like that's not the move, man.
No, the long and
Like,
short of it is just Swerve saying ridiculous things and being like, "Oh, Booker was basically like, you know, okay with racism in the other companies. He didn't speak up. He didn't go after McMahon for using the N word. He didn't." And it's like Booker laid the foundation for you to do
yeah,
what is going on in AEW. Who's main evented as far as black superstars? It's only
It's
than
only been Swerve.
That's it. But if you look, like I make a joke that Pro Wrestling Bits makes. He calls it African NXT, African NXT, and it's hilarious. But he's right. I mean, we've had black champions for years. Trick. Now we've got Oba. Before they are on fire with diversity, but not for diversity's
Not forced.
sake.
Like if you look at it,
it's not because they're diverse, but they're just naturally diverse.
And I'm trying not to hijack the conversation too much. Jordan and Cody, please pop up. I don't know how much you guys are watching NXT, but we got to Obafemi, Trick Williams, and Javon Evans without it ever seeming like, well, we got to put somebody like this in the main event.
Yeah,
and I think
they're also not going around touting from the rooftops. We have 3 black men facing each other in the main event. Can you believe it? Look at us. We're so progressive.
And to be fair, they did do that when you had Sasha versus Bianca at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
like if you listen back to that commentary now, and I'm not saying like representation isn't a conversation to have, but like the commentary did it enough that it takes away from a match that I already didn't care about. So
it was a good match, though. I was there for it, so maybe it's just personal bias. Yeah, I was there.
Oh no, everything's better when you're there live. Like I haven't watched Chamber back yet because I want to remember what it was like to be back in the dome. Like I literally haven't. I should watch the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn thing back at some point because from where I was, the visibility on that one was questionable, shall we say.
What happened to the lights in that match? I forgot. What were they trying to do? Were they?
I think they were just trying to. I think if you watch NXT, how they sort of dim the lights and it's more focused when they do like NXT Underground. I think they were trying to create an atmosphere like that. They were trying to create a claustrophobic atmosphere in a stadium. I don't think it worked, but it was an interesting thing for them to try. And I'm always going to say like, hey, you failed doesn't mean you shouldn't have tried it.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not always the worst. No, you're spot on.
So I'm going to throw out another random. I love doing this with a group because it's just like, hey, let's just do the most generic question possible and get some entertainment value out of it.
Actually, check this out. I'm sorry. Yeah, you were going to ask Cody what he was looking forward to too, and I derailed it before.
No, I was going to switch up the question actually.
Oh,
what do you like looking at the WrestleMania scene? And as I say, I don't know how much you watch NXT, so include Stand and Deliver if you want to. What do you think isn't getting enough attention or enough applause, depending on your point of view here? Like, what's your dark horse? Like, maybe not a main event, but like this might steal the show for WrestleMania weekend.
That's a tough one. I mean, that's a good one. I think. Personally, because people aren't interested in it, people have been shitting on it, but they're both great wrestlers. I think Charlotte and Tiffany might actually pull off a show stealer because Charlotte and Rhea did it,
And with all this bad blood and hate and anger.
Yeah, I mean, I think Charlotte and Tiffany steal the show. They're going to have a great women's match yet again.
I think it's been with Charlotte and Tiffany. I think everybody said with Tiffany when they saw like how athletic she was and the kind of like show up and show out kind of wrestler she was, it's like, okay, even people that didn't like Charlotte were like, yeah, she should probably face Charlotte. And then things have fallen apart as they have promo wise. I don't believe they totally went off script as much as people are saying. I think there might be a mix of.
Charlotte had a new tweet, didn't she, today?
Oh yeah, she's like, I want to apologize for what my character said on TV. I've never thought people in Chicago were smart.
See, at least she went with it, but it's like too little, too late in a way.
Yeah, I do, but it's. I take it in the sense of. Oh, like how dare she, people that are down on Tiffany for obvious reasons that we don't need to get into. Oh, how dare she go there? You shouldn't go there talking about the divorces and whatever. And it's like, okay, but she did an interview talking about specifically that a day before SmackDown. That wasn't an accident.
No, certainly.
I'm just I don't want to say like if it genuinely was and it genuinely did like come off like a dagger, then I guess that kind of sucks, but it seems a little convenient.
I think it did go off script for how it sounded, or they just both forgot how to cut promos because that was atrocious. And And if it was really all off script, Charlotte is the veteran. She should know better. And
I will say
doing that.
as much as I will advocate for Charlotte, because I really do think she's one of the best that there's ever been. You know, fuck all the people that
for
are
sure.
for all the people that are like, everybody has their best match with Sasha. It's like, no, who did Sasha have her best match with? Like, let's go there. I will never tell you that Charlotte's a good promo. I don't think she's ever.
She sounds like a robot.
Well, there's that, but like, she projects this idea of like, I don't care about the words I'm saying as I'm saying them. So there's that, and Tiffany on the other side of the coin is almost in a worse situation because she really nails it sometimes, and she falls
like
off.
her as a face though. I don't dig the face thing.
I like that they're letting her be a face because she played a heel so well and won people over with what she could do in the ring so well that people liked her anyway. And I think the booking is allowing her to get some of that appreciation. I don't think it's a long-term thing. I think if she comes out of WrestleMania, and this is not a preview pod, but if she comes out of WrestleMania as the victor and gets a big scalp over Charlotte Flair, then she turns into Jericho, I beat Rock and Austin in the same night type of heel. But I think leading up to that, they knew that Charlotte was going to get booed anyway, so you might as well let Tiffany have this admiration from the crowd that she's earned.
I see that too, because apparently what they went off script about was, pretty early on, and Charlotte was the one that initially delved from it. So
when they did the backstage thing where they divide the screen and it's two people in two separate rooms, Charlotte like ate her lunch. And it was really awkward. And they could it was clearly done ahead of time and they could have edited it.
It could have been a lot certainly better. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you do pre-tapes, you have the option of just doing it again.
Exactly. And I guess there was tension between the two, so it wasn't revisited. But Charlotte apparently knew what was going to be said, so she had a chance to work out her retorts, and she used her politicking powers that her dad taught her how to get ahead a bit, it seems. But hey, to each their own. It certainly made a feud that no one really gave a shit about and was overlooking because of Charlotte's involvement now seem must see. So I could even see, like, you knew this was not a worked shoot. This was not intended, but I could see them doing something like this for viral's sake. They've done things close to it before, but I mean, granted, I think it's all legitimate with Bad Blood. You could see the way they reacted, especially with the Kaiser line at the end, the way she threw that out. So like the music's already playing.
I love that Tiffany like dropped her line and like left the ring, and it's like, no, you don't get a shoot back on me. And then Charlotte was like almost chasing her with the comeback.
Yes, like come here, like leaning over the ropes. I tried to sleep with your boyfriend, and that kind of attitude, and it made Charlotte look weak.
I saw a thing online that it's like, this is the first time in all of human history that a man has been accused of cheating and nobody believes it.
So did the segment end early if that was supposed to be the thing, or?
I don't know.
Apparently, for what they said beat for beat, the Nepo Queen line wasn't supposed to be there. Charlotte making fun of her voice wasn't supposed to be involved. They were supposed to bring up the "you're alone" type thing, but not the 0-3 line.
Yeah.
And so hey, whatever.
Andrade made a good decision there.
Here's the thing, like as much as I want Tiffany to get the win, because I really do think she's sensational and it's kind of cool to see her getting her due. It's kind of disheartening that so blatantly there's such a large portion of the population that's just like, we don't care what Charlotte does, we're going to boo her anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, if you pointed that a couple other directions, you'd get accused of a couple of things. I'm just saying, hands up.
And, like I said, it turned a feud that everybody was just skipping because of Charlotte's involvement. They were like, basically, hey, and that's how I felt too. I was like, oh, well, this is skippable. This is no longer interesting because Charlotte's going to walk in, grab the title, and leave yet again. The Nepo Queen takes over. So I think the segment did its job in an unintended way, but it worked. I mean, I want to see those two. Can they coexist and do business? Are they going to claw each other's eyes out? Is it going to be a total shit show? I mean, think about the way we've seen at Mania before. We've seen people just not be able to do business and get along and end up putting on just total shit. Think back to Lesnar and Goldberg at 20, you know?
Think back to Lesnar and Ambrose, actually. Like,
That was going to be my
what
next
the
point.
what the hell was that?
Yeah. And you know what?
Let's
We
not
looked at
talk about
Lesnar.
that.
Well, think about it. We looked at Lesnar to be the bad guy then, right? Everybody was like, oh my God, Brock wouldn't do any of the hardcore stuff that Dean wanted to do, and this is ridiculous. You know, they introduced all these weapons, and Brock vetoed all of it. Well, yeah,
So,
no
so
shit.
in hindsight, what Brock should have done was taken a baseball bat full of nails to the back.
I want to superimpose that in a clip to be like, you know, when Ambrose was like, yeah, Lesnar wouldn't play ball kind of idea. And then flash forward 10 years later to him getting nails in his back stuck in a freaking wooden spike. And
So that's the shit Ambrose wanted.
What we really
Exactly.
need to do is bring back Undertaker for one more match and kill him with syringes and bricks.
Hey, you know, it could be a full match type. The first one to completely embalm their opponent. Oh God.
All right.
You know,
All right. I'm gonna throw this one back to Guapo.
spread the ashes.
Even though it's NXT, I don't know how much NXT you're actually watching. Probably none.
Little to none, whatever comes up on my TikTok feed, to be honest.
Okay. So I'm bringing this to you because back in the lore of this channel, when we sort of split everything off, me and Kristen did the music stuff for a while. I adopted Jake as my NXT guy, and at one point, you were my AEW guy.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask your opinion of this NXT North American title situation that just so happens to be Ricky Starks, Ethan Page, Sean Spears, formerly known as Brian Pillman Jr.
Yeah.
Lexus King, yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm affectionately, because you know I don't have any hate in my heart, I'm affectionately referring to it as the Tony Fumble Rumble. But
Here's the thing. I can honestly say, as a AEW fan,
yep,
who enjoys the product. I mean, obviously everything has its own ups and downs and whatever.
Yeah.
Ricky Starks is 100% the biggest fumble ever for AEW.
Really?
And I am also slightly biased because I also watch Ricky Starks and Wildcat.
Oh no, I don't disagree with you, but like it's a statement that has some weight.
I've seen the whole come up for him.
Yeah. No, I always, because I don't disagree, but when we talk about the transplants from AEW, from AEW to the big show, like Cody's in there, Punk's in there, Penta's in there, Phoenix is in there. They're doing good lucha things. Jade Cargill is in there. So I don't think it's unfounded in any way, shape, or form, but saying Ricky Starks is the biggest fumble is a huge compliment, especially coming from you, who's not quite as much of a hater as I am.
Yeah, I can honestly say yes. He's definitely the biggest fumble because he has the utmost, like, he has nothing but upside. Like, I can see Ricky Starks one day being in Raw, SmackDown as
for sure.
champion. He has the charisma. He has the mic skills, everything, as well as in-ring ability. But I always love seeing Ricky on top. He's always been the best.
You're not off with something there either, because Ricky Saints now, him being, as you said, like the biggest fumble, I don't agree there. Not because you're wrong, but I think the biggest fumble was Aleister Black. I would say Ricky wasn't a straight up homegrown talent, but he was about as close as you could get because he wasn't coming in with a huge name a la the WWE machine behind him. He wasn't Rusev. He wasn't coming in like these other guys with the marketing and all the. He came in to challenge Cody Rhodes for one night and had such charisma and talent that they're like, we got to hire this guy. The Tony Fumble chance
is kind of awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
Like it was serving its justice for what it did, because they did fumble with these guys. Page especially. I said a damn near
Oh, yeah.
year ago when he was, I think it was on Collision. They were in his hometown and he cut a great promo and was like suddenly a baby face. And he had the
What wasn't
crowd
it? He
behind him.
challenged Kenny that night, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He challenged Kenny Omega,
Okay.
and it was just a fantastic like turn of the page. Funny enough, and then nothing, no follow up, and then he was just suddenly gone. And they've done wonders with him on NXT. I love the character that he's portraying, the heel run, all of it. But same thing with Starks in AEW now. Saints. They had so many opportunities with him. People were just into the guy. And it's like, oh, let's give him a fake title with the FTW title to be strapped to for a long time, pun intended.
And here's the thing, him with the FTW title, I was fine with it because it gave him some sort of attraction. Yeah, it wasn't a real championship, but no matter what, it was a belt with a name, and being around him elevated him to a really great point, and fans wanted to see him more, and we didn't get that.
I'll agree with that to a point, but there's also the other side of it because the belt is associated so much with one person, obviously being Taz.
Absolutely.
His son carrying it is a different thing. That's an awesome thing. You love to see it. Big thumbs up for Taz Jones and all that. Haven't done that in a while. Jesus Christ. But no, but anybody else holding, because Brian Cage had it for a while too, right? And it's sort of become this like, who's Taz's boy?
Yeah.
Right now thing. And if you're somebody's boy, then you're not your own man. Not to be too, melodramatic and philosophical.
It wasn't the belt, though, that I had an issue with, Spaz. It was never like, the title not being a real title. It was the fact that they did nothing to have any come up from it. Like there was no big to do. They had him eventually face Powerhouse Hobbs in like a street fight, and that was the breakup of Team Taz. But I saw it at Grand Slam. It fell flat. And then they did nothing with him for a long time. They were going with the TNT title stuff. We're like, oh, look. And then nothing again. Then he gets a tag title run with Big Bill, of all people. So they kind of, and I don't want to shit on Big Bill, but of all people to put with Starks, I get the idea, one big, one on the smaller side, what they were going for. But it just, they didn't really have that chemistry, the interactions we were missing.
Just
but they
never
worked
worked.
well, in ring. It just,
I gave it more chance than it probably deserved because, like, you hear Big Bill, W. Morrissey, Big Cass, whatever you want to call him, you hear his story and you want to think, like, any opportunity this guy gets, go do it. Go do it because he went through some shit.
Yeah.
You have to give it more chance. It's AEW. You have to give it more chances overall. That's what I've learned.
Yeah. But it's all great. It's all
Ding.
great. We got black and white actresses telling.
Didn't Tony Khan say something at the press conference about it because he was asked about it? And he's like,
"Oh yeah,
there a lot of other fan favorite stuff happen."
There's more things to pay attention to than fan reaction. Okay, well, you just told your fans to go fuck themselves then.
Pretty much, yeah. What a terrible
WWE,
thing.
like it's not always my cup of tea. And she's not my favorite, but Bianca Belair, some fans love her, and WWE finds a way to put her in everywhere. Pause.
They squeeze her in.
No, but like, if I take my bias out of it, we had the conversation the other week about how the whole Bianca Belair story really doesn't work right now, but she has a following. I got to give her credit for that. And WWE keeps finding a way to keep her on screen because they see that she has that following. And from an outside perspective, I got to respect that. People were crying out for Ricky Starks. People were crying out for Rey Fenix. People were going to AEW shows with signs that said "Free Ricky, Free Phoenix," and etc.
Yeah, they were all stuck in Guantanamo Bay.
Oh my God! And they have to watch. What's it called? Collision as punishment. Collision just plays on a loop in Guantanamo Bay.
Oh God. And that's the thing. You even went to Collision, so did I early on. That show had when it was Punk's show, and you can tell it was Punk's show very early on. It had a feel. It was different enough that, like, again, to differentiate itself from Dynamite, it stood on its own, and it had enough of a great roster of talent where you were getting a good amount of depth, but you were also getting things that you weren't on the main show. The main show was doing stuff with the trios titles at the time, Well,
Yep.
Collision was giving you some of the best tag team matches ever. That FTR Bullet Club Gold match that went an hour still is probably my favorite tag match, like in AEW history. I loved that match so much.
Mhm. I'm just gonna say, and I know a lot of people have fallen off of him as well. How is Adam Cole not a bigger deal?
He won the
And
TNT title,
I
and
mean, he won
I
the TNT title just now,
yeah.
so yeah.
Here's the
Yeah.
thing, though, that they do this weird thing at times where, and WWE is guilty of it too.
They
But
do, yeah.
I feel like WWE does it more around a Mania season. Throughout the
Yeah.
year, they do it less, where they go like face versus face, and they really try to make the crowd choose. It usually comes down to this story has been brewing for a long time and needs a resolution, or it's a dream match scenario that the fans are clamoring for, and we're gonna get it. You know, that kind of idea. Typically, that's what happens with AEW. I feel like we're kind of forced into these things, and the fans are, dragged along,
They're
kicking
telling
and
us you
screaming.
want this match.
Yeah, and it just doesn't have a good natural feel to it because there was no reason for the match. Like that's
No.
what happens continually, and
They were friends that got competitive with each other. But what I'm saying, right? And
he should be a massive deal.
Not everything that WWE does is gold. We have to underscore that always, right? But where was I going with that?
With
If
Adam
you
Cole.
watched just NXT, and NXT was the only wrestling you watched in the black and gold era, presentation wise, respect wise, prestige wise, and all that, was there anything bigger than the Undisputed Era?
No, not a
No.
chance.
So how is that exact group a joke in AEW?
Because it's never gotten the full steam that it needed between injuries as well as bad writing, to be honest. But
And delays,
Yeah.
yeah. They never could seem to get everybody on the same page. And like you said, when they finally could, somebody was hurt. Then somebody couldn't be there. Then they got rid of Fish because nobody gave a shit.
And I mean, folks,
I think
where's
Fish
the
said some
lie?
shit, so that's why. But
No lies told.
what I love about that clip of him doing the whole "where's the lie" thing is the crowd is so silent when he's talking, you can hear the echo of the building.
Oh, I know. And that's so awkward. And it's not like, oh, they're hanging on his every word. It's like, no, I can hear them refreshing TikTok. Like,
Somebody's calling for their lift early.
Yeah, that was embarrassingly bad. And, he had to kick out of the GTS at 3. He had to make a statement for whatever reason. And that just earmarked him as somebody that couldn't be trusted, competitive, whatever the mindset was. But you weren't a guy that was working with the boys. You were out for yourself.
Yeah.
The Undisputed Kingdom, like, where's Taven and Bennett? Where the frig have they been? All of these,
Where's Wardlow?
Yeah, Roddy, Wardlow, my God, he's one of the biggest stop-starts ever.
And I think Taven's hurt.
And I wouldn't, but here's the thing, like, you wouldn't know it because they never talk about anybody. Samoa Joe got taken out by Chris Jericho and his stupid, learning tree gimmick. Hey, guys.
Oh my God, when he put him through that drywall that was actually paper.
Yes, they set up a fake wall that wasn't even, plaster. It was pretty much just paper, and they went through
What
it.
you're saying is
Tony-
Jericho broke the walls down?
Okay, no. Here it is. Here it is. Tony went in there and he said, "It's going to be great. What we have to do here is we're going to build a fake wall.
Well, they erected
It's
it.
going to be fantastic."
If they made
Look here,
Samoa
number
Joe pay
51.
for it and build it.
Okay, Guapo, I'm gonna get the ketchup chips in the bagged milk.
Oh God, no, not you two.
I mean, how are the tariffs going?
Oh,
I'm gonna educate you on what a snippet is.
oh Jesus, I don't want your bag milk. I'm telling you though, these sons of bitches.
Get out of here with your
pulling
metric
us
system,
in.
sir.
The wall was paper. They drove through it with a freaking forklift and it ripped, got destroyed.
All I can picture now is a conversation between Trump and Tony Khan. It's gonna be great, fantastic, great, fantastic, great.
As much as I've complained in certain regards with the Cena heel turn, like at least they've had progression with stuff. With some of the other things, it's like, where did we go wrong? How did we not get this?
here's something I can criticize with WWE if we want to be fair.
Sure, go for it.
Their women's world championship match that makes no sense, and Rhea
Yeah.
getting put into world title matches that she doesn't deserve, because where was Liv Morgan's rematch, who held it longer than her, might I add.
Yeah.
And if we were gonna have a triple threat at WrestleMania, it probably should have been Rhea, Io, Liv, not.
Fair.
I think.
But at least those characters make sense and go and kill everybody. You know, Samoa Joe got taken out by Chris Jericho, comes back and starts a new group, and he's like, don't worry about it. You know, that was my complaint with Cena not immediately being ripped apart by Cody Rhodes. Now you have at least on the women's side these women essentially not being able to get along and tearing each other apart. And one's fighting for respect, one is fighting to no longer be alone, and the other one's fighting because she gets put in everything. So I don't get the Bianca addition to this. Like, I see she won this, you know, obviously I see what they did, but I don't get why she had to be thrown in here.
I can't say it doesn't make sense. What I can say, and I just switched headphones, so I hope you guys can still hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we can.
Hey, there we go. Tech is not my friend tonight.
Well,
Yes, my computer is a potato. We know this. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's absolutely fine.
well,
Spaz,
Liv
did you
makes
know your
more sense to
computer's a
be in it.
potato?
Liv
What I will
makes
say,
more
though-
sense to be in it than Bianca.
But here's the
Yeah.
thing, though, right? I don't mind, and I'm retreading old ground, so Jake's going to have to forgive me. I don't mind Liv and Raquel being tag champions, because I feel like Raquel, as much as she has to offer as like a powerhouse or whatever, if she wasn't a tag team champion, if she hadn't been looped into the the Judgment Day stuff, I don't think she'd be doing anything. So I've got a little bit of appreciation for that. I'm more worried that they have a number one contenders gauntlet on Friday. We're recording this on Thursday for anybody out there that's listening. And one of the teams is Lyra Valkyria and Bailey, which,
I wonder who's gonna win.
but here's the thing, right? And nothing against Bailey, and I think
But can
Lyra
they get
doesn't get the
along?
credit.
They just got into it with each other. I think that's a kind of a, you know, a fake out, a little bit of a red herring, because you think they're going to win because they have the name value, but Bailey couldn't get along with her the other day. Then eventually she gave her a hug, you know, after she lost. She got upset in the beginning, but I think that's going to lead not to a heel turn, but just the can they coexist kind of thing.
Which is fine, and I would rather, because right now the
arguing.
because the women's intercontinental championship hasn't gotten off the ground as much as the U.S. I think as far as the women's mid card titles, there's two good ones and one that's kind of struggling.
That's
we're
because
getting-
The US one's great because of Chelsea Green.
yes, you
that's
nailed it.
Okay,
Chelsea
but
has the charisma, the star power. She's making the title. The title's not making her. As where Lyra
Correct.
needed the title to be relevant.
But also they are showing, because she's obnoxious and because she can be portrayed as like winding everybody up, they are actively showing more and more people that are like sick of, you know, they're playing that like quote unquote like, oh, we're sick of Chelsea's shit. But what you're really doing is lining up a whole bunch of people that want that title. They're not necessarily doing that with Lyra. They're giving exhibition matches to Lyra to show how good Lyra is.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the same thing, especially when the first mid-card women's championship was actually on NXT, because NXT is the groundbreakers. Let's be real for a second. And not only have they had a good run of women's North American champions, but they've got the sort of the cheat code of, hey, we're going to do a 6-woman ladder match at Stand and Deliver, oi, oi, oi.
Yeah.
So there's 2 out of 3. When they said women's mid-card titles wouldn't work, 2 out of 3 of them aren't doing too bad. There's room for improvement, obviously. I would love for Piper and Alba to win the gauntlet and go, because then you could have like Chelsea's whole cabinet as champions. I would love, because they've got the TNA. We haven't touched on the TNA deal with WWE, which we can if you guys want to. But with Chelsea doing the political gimmick and Mustafa Ali over in TNA doing the political gimmick, I would love to see them just cross paths. You know,
Yeah,
let's merge our campaigns. Tasha Steele's staring down Chelsea Green would be a lot of fun.
But see, I understand what you said before, Spaz, and that's what I'm hung up on. You're like, Bianca makes sense. Yes, she makes sense because she won the chamber, and the logic to get her in was sound. But storyline-wise,
that's my frustration.
Yeah,
that's my frustration. She didn't need to be there.
Yeah,
but we can't say that it doesn't make sense because WWE crowbarred in a way for it to make sense. I wanted
Liv
Rhea
should have
Io.
won.
It doesn't
Because
make as
Liv and
much
Io were
sense
having-
as other options. That's what should be said. It does make sense, but it doesn't make as much sense or isn't as viable as other options. And really quickly, this is fucking hilarious. Only us four could have this. So, did anybody see all of Dynamite last night?
Yep.
Okay, see, I didn't, and
I didn't get a chance to watch it.
right. So
I was doing,
apparently, we all missed the fact that the Undisputed Kingdom was on last night.
I did see
Oh,
the
yeah.
clip.
And
on
they cut a
Twitter.
promo, and now the Undisputed Kingdom is dead. Going forward, it's Roderick, it's Kyle, it's Cole, and they're called the Paragon.
Oh yeah. But the way the promo, did you actually see the promo?
No,
Because you couldn't tell whether when they made that announcement, we're the Paragon and that's undisputed. You couldn't tell and I'll say this because unlike somebody like a Charlotte Flair, I do think Adam Cole on his day is a good promo.
can
On
be.
his day. It was a backstage segment, so you can't quite get as into it as you would in front of the live crowd. But you couldn't tell whether he was just saying like we are a paragon of AEW or whether he was saying it as a new name. And everybody that was watching at time, if you were watching X in real time, was like, wait a minute, does this mean this? Does this mean this?
Yeah, and see,
Because if it's the undisputed paragon, that's shit.
and while we're talking about this too, I know we're kind of all over the place, but one of the
That's
things
fine.
I really wanted to mention earlier is that again, AEW's reliance on tournaments, and
Yeah.
I know that's a New Japan thing, and Sith has said it before. Other people have said it repeatedly. You've said it, Spaz, like the New Japan booking style that they wanted to have in America didn't work.
I don't see my thing about it is like if I don't like something and I say that I don't like something and somebody comes back to me and says, "Oh, well, you have to understand that's what they do in Japan." And I'm like, "I don't have to care in the slightest."
Exactly. So,
It's no disrespect. Like you mentioned it before. Like I went to Collision and Forbidden Door,
yeah,
and there's two reasons that AEW got 2 tickets out of me. One was because I hadn't seen CM Punk live in 10 years. That's literally one half of the reason. And the other half was genuine curiosity because I've never seen any Japanese wrestling live.
yeah. And
So
that's
it's
a
a
great
thing,
way
right?
for
So
Forbidden
it's
Door
not
to do.
it's one of those things where like when we talk about the Bucks, when we talk about Kenny, when we talk about, the Good Brothers and whatever, it's not that I'm in any way, shape, or form trying to disrespect Japan, Japanese fans, Japanese wrestlers, or whatever. It's just that I don't care. And that's not a judgment.
No,
It's just that I don't care. And don't bring into what you're presenting to me and say that I should like it because it's how we do things in Japan.
and the way they've been booking, I mean, we just
And
got
that goes
done.
for anywhere, by the way. Like I know there's a huge growing scene in Australia right now off the back of people like Buddy Murphy and Indy Hartwell and Rhea Ripley, etc.
Harley
If somebody
Cameron,
came- if-
yeah.
If somebody came over and said, "Well, you're supposed to like it. This is how we do things in Australia," I would say the same thing. But Australia, it doesn't get used this way. Even the UK doesn't get really used this way anymore. The principle is, oh, they must be good. They came from Japan, or they must be good. They spent some time in Japan.
Yeah.
It's not true, and it's kind of like backwards racist, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah,
Like
in a way,
you're not
because it's
you're not
the
judging
same
a race.
thing.
You're judging somebody that spent some amount of time in a specific space on the globe.
It basically used to mean that because over there you had to be cultured, diligent, focused, proper,
Respectful and all that.
Yes, exactly.
Here's an idea.
So,
How about we be respectful no matter where we are?
well,
What a
you would
shot.
think so,
I
but see,
know.
they're so
Wouldn't
heavily
think of it,
reliant.
but it's a good idea.
It would be. They're heavily reliant on tournament wrestling. Why? Because then you get banger matches. You can have, these top level dream scenarios that Tony loves to book without any story required. But here's the thing, and I mentioned it before, Mercedes could have lost in the matchup that they had because, and I know they're setting up a bigger story, but she doesn't have the title being defended on the line. And I hate when they do these matches too, the Owen Hart Cup matches, men or women, because they're like, oh, and no interference allowed. So if that's the case, then why don't you do that for every match? If you can control that.
All right. I didn't think we were going to get onto this. We're going to get onto this because I'm going to defend my boy Jericho here, all right?
All right.
Okay. his match on Dynasty. Yes, I watch Dynasty, and for those of you out there that are listening that get it through Triller, get it through Prime instead. The quality is a hell of a lot better.
Go figure.
Besides the point, no, it's really freaking awesome. Triller buffers like a motherfucker, but Prime is an actual, real adult, grown-up service. Look at me, I'm a real boy.
They got servers.
Anyway, but you have the ROH thing, right? And the whole, oh, we're going to unmask Bandito, except we're not, and da-da-da-da. And why did it end up not happening? Because Bandito's mom came out and told on Jericho,
Yeah.
and they restarted the match.
They
Now,
cooked him out. They made him look terrible.
every single person that has a shitty end to a match gets instant replay, gets VAR or whatever it's called, and gets to restart their match then. And if TK doesn't do it, he's a piece of shit.
Well, I don't understand the reluctance to do it in that match, but then they do it in others. Like they have the referee go back and, oh, now we're going to reverse the decision. I get the pop they were going for, but especially with the mask being on the line too, he shouldn't have lost at all. Like that was just because if you know anything about the luchador culture, even though he lost and it was unjust and unfair, the ring is sacred. You lost. He should. There's no restarting the match. You lost. Like that was it.
So it's a disgraceful win.
Yes. As far as I was reading online, the culture goes against everything that they set out to achieve. So, and like you said before too, you know, they have these tournament matches, and now they're putting up Athena versus Harley Cameron. Why is Mercedes and Athena in this anyways? I thought the point of the Owen Hart Cup was to give a title shot to the winner. So why are champions in the mix?
I will tell you exactly why. And it's the one time that Tony Khan, anybody else that wants to chime in on this, please do, because I'm going to start ranting soon.
Wait,
the one
you're
thing
not already ranting?
It's fine. It is what it is. Okay, Guapo, I'm gonna talk about Ember Moon, who I originally learned about from you. And you said, Spaz, chill, don't worry about it. She's awesome. She does a stunner from the top rope. It's fine.
Yeah,
I've heard that quote right there probably more than I told my kid I love her. So
I saw Ember at her NXT debut
Yep.
at a house show in New Orleans.
Hell yeah.
Nice. So here's my point, right? What's the one criticism that I think Tony Khan has actually listened to is like Ember Moon. Sorry, I should say Athena, whatever.
Yeah.
One of the most awesome women you have in your employ, and you've trapped her on ROH where nobody's watching.
Yeah.
Right? So her coming, like, okay, I don't want to say called up because I'm not being disparaging, blah, 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 but basically they treat ROH like NXT, right?
Yeah.
So her call up to Dynamite, if you want to call it that, should be the biggest thing in the world, right?
Should be.
But it's not going to be for two reasons. Number one, she's getting called up to face Mercedes Moné, so she's going to get buried.
Yes.
And number two, they're only calling her up. They're only finally giving people what they want so that they can do this on the Dynamite that's running WrestleMania week because they want to have their little We Beat WCW party.
Yes.
And that's where they're wasting. I said All In a while ago. They're not. They're wasting that match there.
That's exactly my point. So they're going through the tournament because now you have Athena taking on Harley Cameron this Saturday. And then, because that's the quarterfinal, then the semifinal comes down to, and I thought it would have been the finals having Athena take on Mercedes. But again, the way he set it up, that's not the case because we have, Jamie Hayter, Billy Starks, and others going up. I don't know why this match is happening or even expected to happen at all. Mercedes and Athena, you should have kept them apart until it was time for Athena to go after the title and take it from Mercedes. I do not get why you're having champion versus champion in a tournament where she's going to get buried.
Here's the thing, right? If I want to be fair, and it's the same thing as I said to Bianca, Sasha Banks, definitely not my cup of tea, right?
No.
But she has a
you can't have a shit finish either. That's what I was going to say. You can't have a shit finish because it's a tournament. You have to have a victor. So
right. But here's my thing, right? Same as what I said about Bianca Belair, even though she's not my cup of tea whatsoever, if I want to put it nicely, like she does have a following. They're kind of blind. They kind of drink the Kool-Aid, but she has a following. She is whether she's a good thing or not is a separate thing. She is a big deal in AEW, right?
Yeah.
For better or for worse. Athena, the idea of Athena finally coming to the main roster, so to speak, I'm sorry I'm using WWE terms, but it is what it is. Her coming up to Dynamite and Mercedes and her having a match that's been talked about for a while is a big thing. Even if I hate it, it's a big thing. You should be supplanting that onto All In. But no, instead you're doing this petty thing of like, we got to steal some attention WrestleMania week, and we're doing this petty thing of we beat the number of episodes for Nitro. And it's promotional malpractice. I'm stealing a phrase from a guy at What Culture that I hate, but it's promotional malpractice to waste this match on pettiness on top of pettiness.
You're not wrong, and it feels very, again, petty, like you said. It just doesn't have.
Good old petty party.
Yeah, it doesn't have a rhyme or reason. That's what I was getting on. It really feels like, hey, this shouldn't be, and we know it. She's not an icon. She's not this global superstar. Like they're, at least not yet. You know, Mercedes is not there. And they try to present her as such.
Okay, but I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that some people think she is. Some people think she is.
People
so let's
think
just
she is,
run with
Spaz, but
that.
the audience is dead silent. They're not reacting. They're not chanting CEO. It's recorded into the audio. You know, like people are just sitting on their hands. That they cheered for Julia the other night, but they didn't even boo Mercedes. They just didn't react. That's bad. She's supposed to be
Sometimes
your
you need a
top, your
creative-
it, your draw. Yeah.
That's why she was a lot better under Sasha Banks than she is under Mercedes Moné. That's
Well, she had somebody keeping the reins on, and I don't always advocate for that because there's situations where that's applicable and there's situations where that's a hindrance.
I didn't know her and
Right,
Roman
so she
dated.
needs it, though.
But I mean, like she fucked herself up in WWE too. Like the amount of times that she was in like especially stipulation matches with somebody like a Charlotte, and she was trying to like outperform and whatever, and like she scorpioned herself on a dive or whatever the case may be. It's like you look at her now with the handcuffs off or whatever expression you want to use, and it's like how much carrying was happening in those matches that were supposedly okay.
Yeah, no kidding.
And it sounds like I'm landing on her, but like you're telling me you're good and you're not. AEW is telling me they're good and I don't think they are. It's just give me something good instead of telling me here's something good. I think that's what Jake was saying a while ago.
Basically,
So
yeah.
I'm gonna throw this one back to Guapo, my initial master of good lucha things.
Yes.
WWE right now has Rey Mysterio,
Mm-hmm.
has Axiom,
Yeah.
has Dragon Lee, has Penta. Leading up to the debut of Rey Fenix, the copy on the WWE website said, tune into SmackDown for the latest addition to WWE's Lucha division. Two-part question.
Okay.
Should WWE have a Lucha division, and how would you do it if they did?
Yes. But caveat, they actually have to like keep it actually going and not just drop it a month later.
Would you use it
But-
as like a hop, skip, and a jump to a third attempt at getting a cruiserweight title off the ground?
No, because they don't need more titles.
Fair.
But I feel
But
like
like a belt with like a spinning mask on it, maybe? Come on, it'll be good.
It could be.
fine.
Oh, come on. Come on. We can get Go Bandit Go and Parallelogram from
Oh God.
I'd rather not.
Hologram's entrance is so shit. He's entertaining enough, but like his entrance is so shit. He's like, if I bought a Temu Jericho light up jacket from Wish and a Rey Mysterio mask with Christmas lights on it. I hate saying that because I think the guy's actually pretty good. I would love to get more toast.
Hologram is
In
good.
WWE?
More toast would be fun, but hologram is not bad in the sense, like you said, it just looks very
No.
gimmicky. So
He looks, but it's anti-gimmicky as well, because once he gets all the light up gimmicks off and whatever, he looks like he's wrestling in pajamas.
yeah, no,
Like it's so flashy and then it's not.
Yeah, it goes to just this point, and then it just kind of stops. It
And
is
then,
very
like,
bizarre.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't care if it's good or if it's shit. If NXT signed the Beast Mortos, I'd be a really happy guy.
Hey,
So-
you
I
know,
really
there's
would.
I will say this about the luchadors in WWE because I always want more luchadors because I love Mexican wrestling. That's been my all-time favorite wrestling.
You've done drunk streams with me with a mask on. We know you like luchadors.
Yes.
Those are still
So-
available on the channel, guys, if you want to check it out.
Yeah. Let's not talk about Guapo shot tequila night.
Oh my god.
I
Drinking!
remember that.
Drinking!
Anyway, I will definitely say I love more lucha, but until I have not Rey Mysterio, which I love Rey Mysterio, until I see Penta or somebody of a actual lucha name that was not made in WWE with a world title around their waist, I'm skeptical to believe anything good will happen with the luchas.
That's fair.
I can
Although
understand that too.
I'll be the dickhead to say that Rey Mysterio wasn't made in WWE, but I know what you mean though.
Yeah.
His name got more popular.
Of course,
he
yeah,
was
yeah.
already made when he came to WWE.
Oh
but
yeah.
his name became more popular in WWE.
I think at the time they used Rey Mysterio because he's awesome, but they also used him as like the number one go-to against WWE just puts a title on any jacked guy that walks into the room, and it's like, so they put it on Rey, and now Rey's kind of jacked, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh,
And his kid is
way
really
better
good.
shape than he ever did.
I'd love to see if Dominic throws a mask on when he goes face again, because I think
Dominic.
I think he's going almost all the way around to, like, he's been a heel, he's been a shitty heel, and like he's gotten so good at being a heel, and he's gotten so good at, like, better than he was at wrestling in the course of being a heel. People are gonna come all the way back around on him at some point. And if he goes face, I'd love to see him throw a mask on.
No kidding.
Just to see what it would be like. But like, keep the mustache and keep the mullet. So like the mullet comes out the back of the mask, and there's like a slot at the front of the mask for the mustache to come out.
No, what they would do is let him be the one to retire Rey, and he takes Rey's mask.
You
Fair.
do that in the King of the Ring finals. Have him beat Rey Mysterio, and he becomes King of the Ring, and he would be Rey Mysterio.
Oh, very nice. I see what you did
Yeah.
there. I see what you did there, except they're not doing King and Queen of the Ring this year.
Are they not?
Yeah, they made the announcement like out of nowhere.
Damn.
I don't know.
That was my plan.
I don't know, because everybody's like, King of the Ring is a weird one, because I like it and everybody's got a different idea on how to do it, and everybody says, oh, why don't they bring back King of the Ring? And then when they bring back King of the Ring, it's like, oh, well, it doesn't matter, they're not going to do it well or anything. And it's like,
Give it a
okay,
chance.
you want them to listen to you, and what you're saying is don't bother doing it because we don't think you're going to do it correctly, and then they don't do it and you wonder why.
Yeah, you're concerned with why they're not, yeah, come on.
It's like have you seen now we've come to the end of this European UK tour that they were doing. Everything's live on Netflix, rah. Pain in the ass for us, but I think me and Jake have talked about it before. It's like we can go through 2 or 3 weeks of watching at an odd time for the rest of the world who have to do it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, the UK is usually when it's 8 Eastern here, but it's 2 in the morning there for them.
Yeah.
2 or 3,
Oh,
so
yeah.
depending on where.
And if you listen to What Culture, they never complain about it at all.
No, you figure What Culture, Wrestle Talk, the UK guys, they're posting by 8 a.m. every morning.
Yeah.
So that's like 1 p.m. for them. But every time I wake up, 8 a.m., I got a video, covering everything. And it's like, all right, so that means you guys have been going since 8 your time,
Yeah.
It's like, it's nuts.
Oh yeah, no, like I take the piss out of What Culture, but I couldn't do what they do. Actually, I don't think
schedule.
You definitely could if you're getting paid.
I mean, yeah, there's a drive to it with work, but it just sucks to have to be up every
No,
time
but
there's
what
wrestling
I'm
at 3
saying
in
is
the
like
morning.
I'm one guy shooting the shit in my basement. I'm not like the 10 hosts and writers that they have.
Right.
Yeah,
That was my
exactly.
point.
I get your point.
Like, they put it, but like, but I don't really shoot on What Culture. I just shoot on Sidgwick and Murray because they're so far up there. They're so far up their own asses they can see their own intestines. It's fine.
Oh yeah,
It's
baby,
fine.
and I gotta see your own intestines, you know.
You got to be able to polish that stuff nice.
Every NXT review, and Jake, I think you can speak to this because I think you listen to them as well. Every NXT review at this point on What Culture is just Sidgwick saying, "Everybody stop enjoying things."
Yeah, he gets mad over like he calls out a lot of like, oh, this is so ridiculous, it's so stupid, look at how these people are acting, but then he's like praising AEW, and it's like, but you're defending probably the dumbest thing I've seen in years, so it's very ass backwards. You know what just surprised me? I saw a headline right here. It's like new WrestleMania match announced. And I'm like, what match is that? So I'm reading the card. I'm like, all of these matches are not new. Apparently, Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest was not official until today.
It was never made official. It was released by Aldous on socials tonight ahead of SmackDown tomorrow.
I don't hate that, but I thought this was a match a while ago. You know, they're going to be facing each other on SmackDown. Yeah.
No, so. I think the criticism of it is the two of them were both progressing and pushing forward and doing the story as if it had already been announced, but nobody had actually announced it.
Gotcha. Yeah, because Drew's had the eye patch on. Tomorrow on SmackDown, they're going face to face. We've got Cody appearing. We've got the women's, tag title gauntlet. We've got Phoenix and Berto facing each other.
Yeah.
And, they're going to be live from Seattle. It's going to be fun. That's the penultimate SmackDown for Mania. So.
Well, I think I threw it to Cody earlier on in the pod to say what's the most what's a match that's not getting enough attention or enough dark horse energy type thing. I'm going to say it right now, even before it was announced, but now that it is announced, Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest is my dark horse for WrestleMania weekend.
I see that, yeah.
Because this went from being a match that didn't really have a story, but I looked at it and I'm like, I will still watch the hell out of that match, to then them making it into a good story. And I'm like, you didn't need to, because we said before, when we talk about story and whatever, and, the tournaments in AEW and all that kind of thing, there is such a thing as, hey, Spaz, Jake, Guapo, Cody, we're going to put this guy and this guy in a match tonight. And depending on who A and B are, you're like, all right, sweet, I want to see that.
And these two have history already, but the story was a little bit like, "Hey, why is this happening?" And then they
pulled the threads together. Is what I'm saying.
This is one of the best built Mania matches I feel on the card, bar none. I mean, there's no other match that has as much ire and importance to it in the sense of the feud. AJ and Logan, Logan saying he doesn't give a fuck about AJ Styles. He's just a stepping stone. Liv and Raquel, whoever they face. To me, the dark horse, I can see why you said that. I think it's going to be the IC title. Four-way.
I expect big things out of that match. So it wouldn't be a dark horse for me. I think it's going to be fantastic. I don't begrudge you that choice.
Yeah.
It wouldn't come in as like an underdog or a dark horse for me because I expect good things out of that match.
Put it this way, I think it's going to over exceed expectations. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm expecting more than the standard
the ladies
fare.
Tag where I was going before we went wildly off in all directions. My big flaw with that is with the whole Lyra and Bailey being a team, other than the whole it's a thrown together team, it's a can they coexist, whatever. If they are the number one contenders for those tag titles, it means for sure Lyra's not defending her title, and that's a problem.
And that is a big problem. And I want to see if anybody win. I would say the Secret Hervis should win, because then they're holding titles with Chelsea. It just makes perfect sense to have them all decorated in gold.
Well, there is a rumor skewing into the NXT NA side of things. There's a rumor that Lash and Jakara and Roxanne and Jade and two teams from TNA are going to have a four-way for the TNA Knockouts tag titles at Stand and Deliver. That hasn't been confirmed.
That would be great.
But the backstage segment that they did on this week's NXT, where Roxanne is like, well, what about me? What are you going to do with me? You better have something important for me to do, Roddy Rah. And Ava just says, well, I'll come up with something. And she kind of fucked off and left it hanging there.
Yeah.
Apparently that's to do with a big multi-team thing for the TNA Knockouts tag titles as part of Stand and Deliver.
Yeah, because right now we only have 3 matches, and one of which we don't even know all the participants. We're obviously
Yep.
getting something with Saints and Ethan Page, and probably, you know what I mean.
Well,
so
there's
triple
a
threat.
number one contenders match this week on NXT.
Yeah, that's coming up. So
I think it's going to have a multi-person response, but right now it's Wesley, Eddie Thorpe, Ethan Page,
Lexus King.
Sean Spears, and Lexus King.
Yeah.
They're having a 4-way this coming week to figure that out, and they're doing a tag gauntlet on the men's side to see who's going to face Frazier and Axiom, which is a bummer because there was rumors that we were going to get another round of Fraxium versus the Hardys, which
I would have been all about. But here's the thing,
Yep.
at least we've seen that. I mean, there's a lot of potential. My kind of question to you, sir, on your own podcast this time around is that, to me, I think the extended time for the build this year made everything not suffer, but it was certainly noticeable because on both sides, neither cards are established or finished in full yet. And for it to be the go-home shows that the cards are finally stacked, in final for Mania and Stand and Deliver, oi, 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 it's a bit of a mind fuck because you figure, we would have already had Mania in years past by this point in time, but to go ahead and
it
have
used to be in March.
Yeah, so the extended time, I feel like it's been not a negative in a massive way, but it was a net negative because things drag. Things felt like, all right, let's get to Mania now, is where we usually don't kind of have that slog. What's a match you would add that's not added to NXT at this point that you would want to see?
To NXT.
Yes, because you figure we have essentially 5 if you add in the tag in North American. We could fit 6, excluding the women's tag. What's another match you would want to see? Because
I'd probably want to do because how much time do you and I dedicate to the NXT crossover? I'd probably want to stick in another crossover match if the women's knockout tag title thing isn't happening. Maybe have their tag champs versus our tag champs if that wasn't a thing. Maybe
yeah, exactly. But I would have liked to if they're not going to for the other tag teams, I would throw them in with the Hardys and have the Hardys defend the titles on Stand and Deliver. And all right, they're going to defend.
If Sol Ruka and Zarya weren't already in the women's ladder match, I would love to see the 2 of them versus Spitfire.
Oh yeah, that would have been great too. I wanted to see them beat. I've been saying it since they teamed up that I wanted them to take the women's tag titles, and I thought that was a great step for them.
Looking at the crossover, Masha Slamovich wants to get her hands on Cora Jade some more. That could be a thing. If Killer Kelly was good enough to return because she's been off baby making and making family and stuff, but if Roxanne Perez got involved on Cora Jade's behalf, you could have Killer Kelly come back on Masha Slamovich's behalf. You could reunite MK Ultra for a night.
Yeah. Because think about it, only one match do we have absolutely set in stone, and that's the triple threat. Everything else, we don't know who Stephanie's facing. We don't know officially the other 4 participants in the ladder match. We just know Zarya and Kalani Jordan.
We know who Stephanie's facing.
It's a fatal 4-way. I know but I'm saying until this episode, this week we didn't have any.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Sorry, I should have specified.
There's
better,
one crossover I would do, even though neither one of them are on NXT, but I think it would be a good meeting ground. If Damian Priest wasn't facing Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, I would love to see Damian Priest versus Mike Santana.
No doubt. That would be a great one too. I just feel like usually on NXT we would have had more time to build up the women's title against the challengers, but they kind of had a ready-made feud there, so you didn't need them jaw-jacking with each other constantly and having.
I will say, for the people that are criticizing NXT, the way they pulled Julia out of the situation and then dropped her back in is not the best, but we don't know what the situation was behind the scenes, so I don't want to go 2-footed on it.
It is bizarre, though, to have her lose the title and then come back in such a quick fashion. If they were worried about her not being able to defend it at Stand and Deliver, oi, 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 why? So it is a bit muddied. And,
it is, yeah.
And she came back in kind of a heelish way, too. So...
Yeah.
I
Well, I
mean,
mean, they like her. It's going to be her and Parker that are the heels in the match, and Jordan and Stephanie are going to be the faces in the match.
yeah, it was
I
just an
think I think
interesting
they've
way
done
to
a pretty
end the
good
show.
job because they doubled down on Stephanie by making her the double champion for a little bit. But Stephanie and Julia came in at the top, rockets strapped to them when they walked in the door. Jordan Grace was this like oddball from the one side that came in, and she's also a big deal. And you've got Jada Parker, who's been in NXT for a while. She very, very much feels like an NXT project done well. And you've brought all four of them together. Here's three names you brought in and said, okay, these people are already big, and we're putting one of our, I don't want to say products, but you get what I'm saying. We're
Yeah, the
putting one of our
machine behind
homemade
him.
we're putting one of our homemade projects right on that same level with them. I think on that level it succeeds incredibly.
Oh, no doubt. I said yesterday too. It's interesting how they've managed with the women's division especially. I told Cody, I was like, wow, they've really, not only do they have something special, but the way they've handled each woman. I don't think they expected Stephanie to be as popular as she is. I really think that
No,
they thought that
definitely
Julia was going to be the main it girl, and the fans took to Stephanie, her work rate, her character, her promos, all of it. She's very endearing, and
The fact that she escaped a Sasha Banks squash unscathed.
right. Uh, damn, and
Oh my
low.
God. Sasha Banks going online saying, well, I don't want to tell anybody who my next opponent is because, somebody else might steal them. It's like, honey, go make me a sandwich. It's fine.
It's be a good wife. I genuinely, I laugh because Stephanie was not supposed to be the number one. She decided to go to NXT. That was legitimately not a joking point. She chose to go there because she wanted to be where the best are, and also to give her a chance to learn. And damn if she's not the top star right now. So I could see them turning Julia heel because they have themselves a great face in Stephanie.
And her entrance kicks ass.
Yeah, all of theirs does. I like Julia's, but Stephanie's is top notch. The music and the way that they brought in Zarya, Julia, and the Stephanie Vekor, and they did it in such a way where no one felt forgotten about. No one feels,
and nobody was stepping on each other's toes.
yeah, and they managed to do it in such a way where, like you said, no one was beneath anyone else. Everyone's been on that pretty much flat playing field. They presented
also,
the North American title.
I keep going back to it though. Is like they brought in three already established stars without burying their homegrown projects. Like I say, for lack of like. Roxanne Perez is another example of somebody who was already established before she came over and as Roxy and all that kind of thing. But like, there's a lot in there. Like Sol Ruka, in amongst all these people that have got all kinds of big name elsewhere, Sol Ruka is right up there with them. Jada Parker is right up there with them. Kalani Jordan. Jake, how much of the past year and a half have we dedicated to talking about Kalani Jordan?
I mean, she took the women's North American title, introduced it to the world, and made it a standout
in that weird UFC place.
Yeah, she did it, and she managed to make it the belt for the mid card for the women, and that's what I was saying. They presented it, equal. Stephanie's North American title was as equal as Julia's women's title, and that was great. You don't see that often. They didn't want to put someone beneath or above anyone else. Yeah, Cody and I were talking about that back and forth yesterday, and it was just really kind of an amusing fact that, hey, the WWE machine had someone else in mind, but they're not opposing it. They're not knocking their heads against it at this point in time. They're not being like, no, you need to love Julia, and hiding Stephanie. They're like, oh, they worked with the flow of the fans, which is a rarity, but enjoyable.
And the most important thing is none of them run from the grind.
That's the damn truth.
Oh my god!
I'll throw it over to Cody and Guapo because we've sort of steamrolled the conversation again. NXT, sort of where the bulk of the women's wrestling is happening in WWE right now. I mean, like week on week, you get episodes where there's like more women's matches than men's matches, and it doesn't even seem out of place anymore. So, men's 3-way or women's 4-way for the main event of Stand and Deliver? Oi, oi, oi.
Ooh.
Women's.
I
Okay.
go with the women's. I'd go with the women's. They deserve it.
Me too. Me too.
Sadly, I would say the women's. I think the men's might main event, especially with Dark State possibly being a factor. But
Yeah.
if they don't, I could picture them opening the show too.
Hey, listen, I like the Shield 2.0.
I mean, I guess they could open the show. That's.
They've done it before, and that thrown power bomb is an incredible move. I'm waiting to see that botched.
The throwing power bomb, but also the jump down from the top rope power bomb that they did on Tuesday works as well when it's not all four of them in the ring.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like they toss into the turnbuckle when he's jumping off and catches into a super power bomb. Like it's crazy.
I don't think he got it. And this is one of those things where like not everything has to be pretty all the time. I don't think he caught it completely, and because of that, it looked even grosser.
Yeah, it looked a bit more, not janky is the word, but yes, a bit more.
I
painful.
would put if I had my own house, I would put my house on the ladder match being the opening match.
Yeah.
Ladder matches getting people going right from the outset of a show. It's another kind of a cheat code, but it's a cheat code for a reason.
And it's one they've done quite a few times to resort back to, certainly.
Yeah. And I mean, if you do that in the opener and then the four-way closes, you're once again sandwiching the entire pay-per-view with your women's division, and that's an awesome thing. And then you've got, like I say, Trick, Oba, and Javon, who all have different fan bases and whatever. Nobody's really a heel. Like, Trick's kind of pissed off, Oba's a monster, and Javon Evans is trying to prove himself. So they're all pseudo baby faces. They just happen to be aimed at each other.
Yeah, no kidding. And even the ratings show, because we had 650 last week, 683 this week, beat out AEW. AEW came in at 659. And their 4-2 show drew 594. So
streams?
I'm not counting the 5.2 billion people watching on Max, but we'll have to add that factor in later. One thing that I saw was very interesting. WWE is now offering a legacy award for the Hall of Fame. They're inducting Kamala, Dory Funk Sr., and Ivan Koloff. I think this is great. It's a way to get guys into the Hall of Fame
but
more.
It was something that they addressed very hit and miss.
Yeah, they didn't bring it up each year, and they didn't really pay attention to it. So it's kind of happened behind the scenes. I like that they're doing,
So
posthumously.
what is it exactly? What do you?
It's
just basically a way to sweep a whole bunch of people that are not going to get individual inductions to say, hey, we're looking back in our history books and we'd like to acknowledge X, Y, and Z person.
People that weren't able to get into the Hall of Fame when they were alive and have been gone for quite a while. And it's like, oh, their legacy lives on. Let's honor them. So the families are getting to come in. Like Kamala's family was very honored and touched, and they're going to be there to accept awards. So that's great. I like that. Hey, honor more people. That's what's up. I have a question, non-NXT related for the panel, and I'm going to start with Guapo, sir. Who the hell does Randy Orton face? I mean, Owens is injured, and that is heartbreaking. And really quickly, to think back, he said he got hurt, not in either crazy, insane match that he had with Cody or with Sammy, but just in a regular match on SmackDown. And it seems to be when, the way, I think it was with Ray, the way he landed on the knees for the senton, and that just happened to be on his neck, and that caused the compression. And if you look back, though, now seeing the ending to that Royal Rumble, ladder match where his head is through the rungs and he's basically on his neck, it's like a whole nother level of uncomfortable. But with him out, what do we do here? How do we save it? What do you think?
I think you either save it by Aleister Black coming back to face Randy, or...
You stole my answer.
Yeah, I know. Or I don't think Rusev would work for it. I don't think it would do Rusev justice, or it wouldn't be a good fit.
Well, I mean,
Black,
if he gets to bring in his hot, flexible wife,
and his personal announcer.
His personal announcer does work for TNA, and TNA does work with WWE.
Mm-hmm. Just saying. It's there. You're already getting a paycheck.
Here's the thing, though. Like, we basically have AEW's version of Cody in WWE now with some tweaks, obviously. what if he like we always think, oh, it's Rusev coming back. We're gonna do Rusev Day and da da da. Like, what if he comes and tries to do the Redeemer thing in WWE?
The
They-
Redeemer, there was also something else I think got messed up in AEW because it was a great character and it could have done wonders, but it
My
got
super
lost
hot,
and
flexible wife.
But that's how they
Just that
introduced
and
him.
just-
It would have been a home run, but no. Instead, we got him introduced as a pink T-shirt, Minnie Mouse wearing, Gucci
Oh my
loving
God, he was the
video
best
game
man for
nerd.
Kasabian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was so awkward, and he was just into his video games, and game over. You know, like that was his finish now. Everything was video game references. Like, all right, cool. You like to stream on Twitch. I get that, but you're also a wrestler. Differentiate
I will
the
say
two.
that was about as bad as WWE's idea to make Adam Cole Keith Lee's manager.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was bad
WWE
too.
ain't perfect. Let's repeat it once again for anybody that's not paying attention.
Think of what they did to Karrion Kross. Speaking of Kross, I should have said this at the beginning of the pod. I did mention it yesterday, but you know, rest in peace, Kevin Castle. That's so terrible that he passed. And I don't know if you guys ever listened to the Don Tony and Kevin Castle show, but I used to listen to that back in like 2009. He's been on, you know, their own website, the two of them, and YouTube for ages. I mean, like over 2 decades at this point. They were the originators of like online wrestling reviews and podcasting. And unfortunately, Kevin passed away the other day. So, you know, just sending our prayers and thoughts to the family and friends and everybody, and especially
T's and
Don
P's.
Tony. Yeah, it's sad, and he's a huge Karrion Kross fan, so we were trying to see if we can get Karrion to like dedicate his match on Monday. He finally gets a match, and then you know he's got to pass away. That's how it goes, right? But I think they have
I
big
think
things for
Karrion
Kross.
Kross is an interesting one because he's doing all this puppet master shit. Like, obviously, they got rid of Akam and Razor and Paul Ellering and all that.
Yeah.
So Final Testament is kind of out the window. You got to wonder what his presentation is going to be now because he hasn't wrestled, so we haven't seen him be presented.
Yeah,
The little nods that he's doing, like he does up his hair the same as the person he's talking to, like it's down when he's talking to AJ, it's tied back when he's talking to Woods, and
yeah, he's got
all
the
this
man
kind of
bun
stuff.
for Sammy. Yeah, the little details. I mean, he's so good with that.
You know, it'd be really interesting because we talk about the Aleister Black thing, and maybe this is convoluted, whatever. Have Randy Orton come out and do an open challenge or announce on the Friday before WrestleMania that he's going to do an open. I was getting ready to face Kevin Owens. I need my WrestleMania moment. I'm going to walk out there tomorrow night and I'm going to do an open challenge.
What if all this just says, "I have an opponent for you. You'll see him at Mania." They pull the Cody Rhodes return.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah,
Seth
okay.
had.
I'm doing that, but I'm doubling down on it.
Okay.
Right? So you got Randy Orton in the ring. Okay, grabs the mic. Okay, who's it going to be? Something simple like that. And Kross answers, right? And he goes down to the ring. Here's Karrion Kross. Other than this Friday, we haven't seen him wrestle in ages and ages and ages. He's going to make his comeback on the biggest stage, Roddy Rah. And all this just comes to the top of the ramp and says, no, I think we can do better. Kross gets pissed, eats an RKO, then out comes Aleister Black for the actual match.
Yeah, see, and that tells the whole story later on for Kross, but
Because I mean, you can do whatever you want with Randy Orton after that, but you can have an immediate thing with Karrion Kross and Aleister Black because he was upstaged at WrestleMania.
I'm assuming they're bringing Black in as a face for some reason. He could be a heel, but I feel like the fans want to cheer him, and I don't know how
think
they
you have to
relate it
decide
to
with
the.
him.
As long as we get his entrance, I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
With the creaky coffin.
yeah, you gotta have
Yes.
the, you know, that's the sound of McMahon's, you know, Viagra working basically at this point. But all the wood creaking, I'm
Talk
telling
about a
you
plane
though.
ride from hell.
Oh, giggity. I don't know how they connected to Alistair. That's why I was like, you don't even need a reason. You could just have the open challenge. But that's why I was kind of thinking, like, what if they just dial it back a little bit and have it be Sami fucking Zayn? Because Owens, you know, is like, hey, you got to finish. It's not great, but the match would be good.
You can't do that. You can't do that. Sami Zayn is occupied already.
Is he?
I hate that this is like some like 27th page of Reddit thing,
Mm-hmm.
but apparently
Okay.
with all the lucha talk and whatever,
Oh God.
there's a big swell of people wanting the next opponent for El Grande Americano to be El Generico.
That would be.
I am more than okay with that.
I would
I
mark
know you
out
are.
hard for that. I would. I was a big Ring of Honor guy at that time. That's why I like Steen so much, and like
Yeah.
Or
oi oi oi.
Sami Zayn's a babyface, but El Generico's a heel.
Oh,
El
1000%.
Generico. El Generico and El Grande Americano versus Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee.
I'm huge on the El
I'm
Grande
here for it.
thing.
I would
good.
watch the shit out of that.
Cody, you were loving the whole thing that they've done so far, and even the AI Gulf of Americas, like all of it has been hilarious. And
The beautiful Gulf of America.
it's so
And
ridiculous.
if anybody knows about golf, it's me. And you want to golf in America.
This has been one of my favorite things going on TV. I know some people shit on it online and call it racist, I guess, but
People want to pretend to be offended. That's where I was going with the UK thing earlier. People are actually sending petitions around Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, to make sure that WWE doesn't go back to the UK at all because they booed Bianca Belair, so they must be racist.
And they can't see that it's the placement of Bianca being added into something that she has no stake in, essentially. The feud between Rhea and Io was already set because Rhea's
And
never
she threw the
beaten
match.
Io.
As the referee, she threw the match out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm talking even the initial, but her and Rhea, Io and Rhea should have been the WrestleMania match. The entire story of WrestleMania is usually, I can't beat this person, I have to beat this person. Like Jay and Gunther, like, Cena, Cody. Same idea should have been stated here, but for some reason they jumped off the goddamn reservation with this one. I don't know why, but
Rhea should have never lost the title if she's getting back
Facts.
in this, because why is she getting a rematch? Because again, it just goes to the point. Liv never got a rematch who had a longer title reign. This is what bothers me about this world title match, because
It is a
just
concern.
doesn't make sense.
It is a concern. I'm willing to slightly overlook that part of it, like, because Rhea and Liv traded the belt back and forth already, and to be honest, like, I like both of them, but I think that ran out of steam a little bit. I'm willing to forgive that part of it because she's got another title to defend now. I know it's not the greatest answer in the world. I'm putting my hands up and fully admitting that, but Rhea and Io is a good ass match.
it
I'm
is,
just saying.
and what we got on Raw was only a taste of things to come, and I hated Bianca being involved, and that's why Io won. And it's not because it's Bianca either. It could have been Liv too. I don't want the story of her never beating Io all those times on NXT. You wasted all of it, and I mean,
And it gets muddy because they have to do a Bianca story because Bianca has to be the focus.
But now instead of having the feel good moment that could have been done, Rhea retains, or instead of doing something shocking where Io still wins and they go further with this story, and now Rhea has to chase again. I mean, Io's been beaten at Mania. Giving her a chance to be celebrated as a face and winning the title, that would have been huge for her. And Rhea would have put her over, but then they can continue the feud of I still can't beat her and build the SummerSlam. Like there's ways. Now Bianca got involved, so the only reason she couldn't beat Io this time was because Bianca distracted her. Like she gave her the super.
This is the other thing they're failing to
finisher.
realize, and this is what makes me interested for later on this year. Like, we want to put all the best stuff on Mania, but they do have to keep some stuff in reserve because they do have to promote the first ever 2-night SummerSlam later this year, and they got to save something massive for that. Spoiler alert!
Evolution as well.
Spoiler alert! I hope the main event of night 2 of SummerSlam is CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes, but other than that, like, it can't be a one-match show, especially over 2 nights.
Yeah, I think it might be CM Punk and John Cena.
And John Cena.
Yeah.
I don't hate that, but I really do. I really do. I really, 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 really do want a big pay-per-view to end with CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes for a major title, just because fuck Tony Khan.
Yeah. We'll get more of the Tony fumbled chance, but I mean, you take it all back, and it's like there's just certain things about it. I wouldn't have had Bianca involved, and like I said, not because it's her, but people weren't booing her because it was her. They were booing her because she doesn't fit. She's the awkward puzzle piece in this. You have Naomi and Jade having their thing, and so it made Bianca look like a really shitty person too. Like you didn't know one of your friends attacked your other friends, and that friend didn't trust you enough to tell you. Like, you know, so it already made her look bad. And then on top of it, she did nothing. She didn't stand with either one, and it was kind of like, oh, I'll support Jade, but I'm still friends to you both. So
this is what I said the other week. The whole reason Bianca, other than the fact that I don't particularly like her, the reason the Bianca thing doesn't work is they lifted her out of a story she was already in to put her into a story that didn't need her.
Exactly, the transplant case, and that's what Cody was mentioning on the air the other day, because it was just so ass backwards.
Even if they had gone the other way around, even if they had gone the other way around, and I know it was Charlotte that won the Rumble, and I know it's a rematch and whatever, but Charlotte and Rhea Ripley going another round at WrestleMania would not hurt my feelings.
No, especially with their history, because now Rhea's going to go ahead and take out Charlotte and dominate her. That's
Pause.
Yeah.
Pause.
Dominate her hard. I mean, that second rope dominator should have done it for EO, and then the distraction was silly. And oh look, you know, and it was a shock finish, yeah, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming. But I still didn't think initially it was going to be fully Bianca at that point. We thought Bianca was going to be involved elsewhere, and this was just the story catalyst to make it happen. Yeah. Friends no longer being friends. Yeah, and it's funny how they dropped off the Bailey and Roxanne stuff from like the edge of a cliff, because a lot of the matches we thought we were getting at Mania, and I'm going to plug myself here. Liz and I will be live next week. You know, her and I.
You will.
Yeah, we went ahead and we predicted Mania pretty badly. It seems like we got some matches right, but I didn't expect LA Knight taking on Jacob Fatu. I mean, that's one that feels like it's way out of left of center.
I thought we were going to get Solo and Jacob Fatu.
Yeah.
Am I crazy? Because they're not even connected in any way right now, and one of them just debuted. Am I crazy to think that after WrestleMania they're going to do a David and Goliath thing for that belt with Jacob Fatu and Rey Fenix?
They could. That would work incredibly well, but it seems like Fatu's winning here. I just didn't expect, which is cool to have him be a title holder, but like, look, what does Solo do going forward? Like, he's really useless now, huh? I mean, you figure if he went from running his bloodline to being essentially ostracized and nothing.
Solo at this point is just walking around with all the velvet suits.
That's it.
Add more members to the bloodline.
They wanted to, Guapo. They still have 2 more that were supposed to be joining at one point
who
in time.
Is it? It's Hikuleo and somebody else?
Yeah.
Hikuleo and Zilla.
Yep. Zilla, there you go. Couldn't think of it off the top of my head.
I will be more than happy to see Zilla debut.
That's fantastic.
It just got to a point, though, where it was like, how many Samoan members are we at? Okay. All right.
All of them.
Everybody. Call on the family. You know? Next thing you know, is if you're not Samoan, you're not in WWE.
Wait a minute. One particular group of people is taking over the whole show? Who are they? The Elite?
Oh. I don't know. With the feels and everything, I wanted to mention this. You brought up the Elite, and with them trying to join into the Death Rider storyline,
it's all shit. Here's the thing, and here's where I will actually give What Culture credit, because they mentioned this today. I was listening. The Bucks and the new Elite with like Okada and friggin' Pussy Perry and all them.
Yeah,
they tried to take over, and then the Death Riders actually took over, and now they're gonna join up and take over.
Well, that's the thing. The Bucks,
and Jericho's fucking off.
Yeah, the Bucks went ahead and see. I was saying before too, like Samoa Joe, he comes back. Jericho put him through the wall with a freaking forklift, as shitty as it looked. But he doesn't come back trying to kill Jericho. He comes back and starts a new group with his friends. Like, okay, you got your ops now. You nailed that, sir. And
meanwhile, the winner, the absolute, undisputed #1 winner of the Tony Fumble Rumble, is about to main event WrestleMania.
Yeah, I know, right?
Instead of the match I want, instead of Cody versus CM Punk, WrestleMania is capped off both nights by Cody and CM Punk.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great time to be a fan of both, certainly. And so
it's a great time to be a wrestling fan on a Thursday night in wherever the hell we all are.
Exactly. So they add nothing to it with the Bucks being here. That's what I'm saying. So they had them run away in storyline. They lost their titles to Private Party, which meant nothing. And they tore up a bunch of paperwork, shredded some documents, and got the fuck out of Dodge and disappeared to New Japan to go win the belts there.
I think you'll find that it was for chairs and OnlyFans accounts.
I was going to say tax
try to be
purposes.
more fair here. I'm going to try to be more fair here and criticize something else with WWE.
Sure.
Speaking about CM Punk with the Night 1 main event, I know I sound like a broken record here because I repeated it so many times, but
that's okay.
I still don't think the triple threat makes sense either, so to speak, unless you add Drew McIntyre, or it should have been 2 separate matches. CM Punk and Seth Rollins should have had another match, and then you should have done Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre.
Oh, there's a million combinations that would maybe make more sense and might be more satisfying. I can't deny that this is one of the matches that I'm looking at as like you could tell me 100 ways that this match doesn't make sense, and I'm still looking forward to it.
I agree. I'm still looking forward to it as well because the Paul Heyman aspect brings a whole
Paul Heyman aspect of it, and
it.
I said at the beginning this is not a preview pod, but it's got to be Punk, right?
I don't know. I mean,
Rollins.
Yes, some people did say that.
I don't think Roman's winning.
I don't think Roman's got a shot, but I want to see Punk win. The thing is that Seth now being owed a favor. You were saying originally, and so were others. Like, hey, it seems like we're gonna
Seth
see
leaves with Heyman.
Yeah,
I would love that because I think it would be ballsy because so many people are treating Seth, like fan wise, I'm talking about. So many people are treating Seth like, oh, he's just a hanger-on, and this is really just a big match between Roman and Punk. I think you run the risk, even though I would like it. It's like the Intercontinental Championship match, right? I'm honestly pulling for Finn, but I can make better cases for the other 3 to win.
As am I. I want to see Finn Balor with the IC title.
Paul
Funny
Heyman
enough.
really have to follow through with the favor though with Seth Rollins because CM Punk's favor was a little different.
Yeah, he owes Punk with Seth. Oh, Seth, you didn't stop me. What are you going to do? Stop me next time? You can attack me anyways. So that's kind of the thing too.
But here's the thing though: if they're conspiring to turn on both Roman and Punk, everything we saw this week on Raw could have been part of that act.
Exactly, and Heyman would set things like that up
because I do think it would make
Paul Heyman.
If they play it off like Seth just gets in Paul's ear, like because Seth's a manipulator, we've seen him run factions before and all this, right? If you see him get in Paul Heyman's ear, it's like, look what all you did for Punk, look what all you did for Roman, and now they're just bickering over you like a piece of property. Why don't you come to WrestleMania with me and win with me?
I think they're together because Paul Heyman was getting a little too mouthy with Seth Rollins because he would usually be afraid of a wrestler.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It could be. It seems like it.
What I love about this match, and it's the other reason why I'm really invested in the Drew and Priest match. You got Drew Priest over here. You got Punk Roman Seth over here. You've got 2 completely separate matches that are built on these guys hate each other so much that they've all fucked each other out of the title picture. And what does that do? It enhances the title picture.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's amazing. Like, Drew thinks that Priest fucked him out of the title over and over and over again. Priest wanted a fresh start on SmackDown and wouldn't get it because Drew wanted him because of the title picture.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, like, Punk is screwed Rollins. Rollins is screwed Punk. Punk helped out Roman, but, like, fucked with Heyman, and Roman could come back and spear him next week, and they've all gotten in each other's way. So in that sense, and plus the friggin' brawl as they were all eliminated from the Rumble, as Logan Paul eliminated them.
Well, the thing is too, the WWE was, I don't want to say they were in a bad spot. I'm not saying they promised CM Punk, like, hey, you're going to get the main event, and then he got injured, and now they're like, oh shit, we have to give him a main event kind of idea. But in a way, it feels like that a little bit, like, because they could have waited till next year to give Punk his main event, really. Yep. So it feels like kind of like, hey, you're going to get the main event, and you're going to get this.
And I'm not saying CM Punk is a regular guy. The guy is really driven. The guy's really, like, fixated on, like, certain goals and whatever, right? But if he's gotten to a point in his life where he's comfortable and whatever, and being the absolute main event of WrestleMania isn't it's still important, but it's not the be all and end all, then he's got a story that he can pick away at every year from now until the time that he retires.
Oh yeah, and he could also have the mindset of what happens if I get injured again, or what happened. I should
Yep.
take this chance for the main event. And I don't think it's a bad main event to be involved in with someone that's main evented the last 8 out of 10 years or whatever it is with Roman.
Well, next
And-
year
and
it's
so
in New
on.
Orleans, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Next year it's in New Orleans.
Guapo's happy for that.
What I would love, I'm sure he'll have his own match as well, because there's somebody from New Orleans who just came over to the Good Company, who's friends with both Cody and Punk, and
Saint.
let Ricky Saints pick up the NXT title at Stand and Deliver Oi 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 next year, and then have him run in on Cody versus Punk and have a, oh my God, whose side is he actually on? Because that would actually be fun.
That would be crazy.
I would like that for sure.
And
I think they should definitely do that.
yeah, no kidding, Cody. Because Saints, he's
And
just so damn
anything giving Ricky
charismatic.
Saints, anything giving Ricky Saints the rub is a good
It's
thing.
you want to rub Ricky.
That
Anything where,
interview he
like,
did, he
anything
said,
where the platform is actually big enough so that the stars are actually presented like stars and they can actually look on both sides of the arena without like ducking from one side is really, really good. I still think we need to do the Tony Fumble Rumble. There's
But
a lot. Well,
there is a
I think
lot.
we've been pretty fair in our dissecting of Royal Rumble season and the other guys. Fair to say that we're all looking forward to it because something's going to happen.
yeah,
Aleister Black
no
is showing
doubt.
up. I'm hanging my hat on that.
Ricky
I
said
am
on
gonna-
that promo that he did, that promo interview he did with Chris Van Vive, he went ahead and said, I'm going to be on that Mania card. I'm going to be
Good.
in New Orleans on that card, not from NXT. He's like, I am manifesting it. Everything I've done, I've manifested myself. I'm speaking it into existence. It's going to happen.
I wonder if they give him, because they did, it was the COVID mania, so it's got a caveat next to it. But Rhea Ripley and Charlotte did fight over the NXT title at WrestleMania. Do they let Ricky Saints defend the NXT championship on the WrestleMania stage? Because I think he'd be a good person for that.
I think they would because it's not under the Vince administration. Because when it was
Fair.
under Vince, they didn't
Fair.
acknowledge NXT. It was like another wrestling promotion to Vince. I guess.
NXT, acknowledge me. And because I'm losing my voice and because I'm really trying hard not to sound like I feel like shit, I am going to wrap it up here. Guys, thanks. We are going to do this again. I've got the thumbnail for it and everything. We might do this again around SummerSlam time for like a big round table stuff. Hopefully we'll get some more individual stuff. We're going to get OKayfabe in here eventually. Guapo, tell them where to find you, buddy.
You can find me on Twitter, even though I don't tweet, at Guapo_504.
Cool. You doing anything else?
No, that's about it.
Yeah, you just hop on everybody else's, eh?
That's right.
Cody.
He's being here with us sexy people.
What's
Cody.
going on?
Thanks for coming out for the first time. You're the new guy. Tell everybody where to find you.
You can find me over at Twitter at Judgment Day Era or on Instagram, Cody_Oneedy_316.
Very nice. And you're on a lot of Jake's stuff as well. So
Yes.
the family is growing over there as well. Jake, tell them where to find you.
Yeah, Cody's the official co-host on Into Somewhere Weekly, where we usually cover SmackDown. It happens after Raw, preview NXT, all of that fun stuff. You can find me over on the YouTubes at Jake Countdown Ended or at Countdown Ended everywhere else, on Twitch, on Rumble, on Twitter. You'll find me there. We'll be live
you
this
on the
upcoming
Rumbles.
Sunday with everybody here, hopefully. It's going to be a big Mania preview. That's right. That'll be live this Sunday, 1 Eastern. It'll be a great time. We'll have everybody joining us. Hopefully no technical snafus, but we'll see what happens.
I'm going to reinvigorate my potato. There's something you didn't think you'd hear on a podcast.
Might need
And
to
you
be
guys
mashed.
know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. That's been Jake. That's been Guapo. That's been Cody. We are the group YWC Reality Check Roundtable thing. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, me and all these sexy fuckers are tagging out. Bye, guys.